Good evening, everybody, and welcome to possibly the worst feeling show I think we've done this season. Although there have been some low times, I don't think that we've felt quite so low as this, but still plenty to talk about. So luckily tonight, we may have noticed a guest that has been with us before, a good friend of the show, Tom. Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're also a contributor for Blog and Dirty and the Touchdown NFL. Is that correct?
Yeah, the touchdown mainly. The Blog and Dirty thing's up in the air at the moment. That's an ongoing contract discussion. So more as we get it, I suppose. But yeah, otherwise, bit of writing here and there.
Awesome.
On the internet shouting. Yeah.
So
mainly
we've
on
got
the internet shouting.
That's where you can find me mainly, shouting.
So we've obviously got a lot to unpick from the week just gone. And I think I kind of feel like Tuesday is probably a good time for the show. Let the dust settle a little bit after the debauchery that we witnessed on Sunday evening in the rainy climate of Carolina. So I'm going to kick us off. Tom, question to you, seeing as you're our guest this evening, our esteemed guest.
Mm-hmm.
How are we feeling after that? What's your thoughts? What's your headlines for this week?
The headline to this week. Okay. So at various points this season, I've been told under no uncertain circumstances that I can turn it off at any point. I'm sat here and the better half is sat across from me going, you don't have to watch this. And I'm kind of like, no, I do. This was the first time that I've given it genuine thought. I did not pay attention for the vast majority of the game when nothing was happening for a good 45 minutes. And then the ending kind of happened and I just felt so defeated. I will say I was far more invested and deflated last week after the Tampa Bay game. I put so much emotionally into that game. As we win this, it's like it feels like it's done, playoffs kind of thing, and I'm so desperate to get into the playoffs, regardless of how bad we are. I'm so desperate just to have something to look forward to, and I'm come away from these last two games just feeling shit. I'm allowed to swear on this, right? This is apologies. Okay, right. I just feel.
But go for it.
Apologies. Just feel really bad. And it was. I mean, it wasn't helped the conditions. Like they kept cutting to the crowd, and there's about 12 people there. And every time it does, like, well, if it's only like 50 cents, why wouldn't you just go? And it's like because it's chucking it down and windy. Why would you want to watch the worst teams in the league in that scenario? And here I am watching them from home. So I don't know. I just feel really bad, and we'll get on to the other stuff that's sort of come out this week and whatever. But it feels like it just kind of feels like this season's on its very, very last legs, if not past that. Sorry to kick the show off on a down note, but
Had I have handed the microphone to anybody else, I think that we would be on a pretty similar negative level. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. So I'm gonna ask Liam this, and I seen a tweet earlier this week. I'm not quite sure I agree with it, if I'm honest, but there was like a tweet where it was like accepting that the offense was god awful, but brought to light the fact that this defense, who are for 90, according to the tweet, anyway, this is up for discussion, 95% of the game playing lights out, and then that 5% when we need them to play lights out, playing not so lights out. So I'm interested to hear your take on that.
We think they're playing lights out for 90%. What was the tweet?
Well, essentially saying the defense should have made a stop on that last drive.
I mean, they could have done, but I mean, ultimately, we still kept them to 9 points anyway. So
exactly, that was my thoughts. But
Yeah, I mean, maybe they could have done, but I mean, there's no idea they had a horrible game where loads of points to a high flying offense. Like, I don't think Carolina would have expected to score that many points either, like the way they've been playing on offense this season. So they would have been. Their surprise was obviously to keep us to 7, which was our issue. Ultimately, that's what cost us. If you keep a team to 9 points in any game, most of those games you're going to win. So I wasn't too concerned about that side of the ball really overall. There was a few mistakes here and there, but it happens. And I think, the teams ran the ball against us again for second week in a row. Like, we've been quite good against the run, but this last week and this week let it slide a little bit. But ultimately, I think we did a solid job on defense, good enough certainly to win the game. But the other side of the ball, not so much.
No. Okay. Yeah, I think I echo those thoughts, and obviously we'll get into a little bit of a more of a deep dive as we often do. Danny, I'm going to ask you this question straight out, just to cause a little bit of controversy early doors. I'm sure it's not actually that controversial. Is it time to go?
I will refer to the comments as opposed to my own opinion.
No, I don't want to. I know what Cal thinks. I have to put up with Cal's messages all week.
Okay, all right, okay. Well, for reference, for anyone that can't see the comments section, the hashtag is the one. Unfortunately, I think I'm at that point.
I just want to bring you back to another one of Cal's comments. I mean,
there we go. There was a reason I didn't get that one up.
Sorry. Go on.
Yeah, I think I am at that point now. I'm a little bit torn though, because I don't think bringing in a new coordinator at this point in the season really has that much of an impact on this season. It does, however, give him a little bit more of an opportunity to decide who they do and do not want come the off season. The only issue I have with replacing him now would be, who do you go for that's a feasible replacement at this point? Whereas when it comes to the off season, it's a little bit easier to negotiate a little bit. Other teams will be in similar situations. There might be more people available. So I think realistically, if it's going to happen, it's not going to be until the season's over and done with.
Yeah, I guess I'd agree with that. I think at this point, I mean, I appreciate what you're saying, but surely the offense couldn't get any worse. So
no.
I suppose my clap back to that is, well, sure, but I mean, we've got a few more games to go, which could decide whether, as Tom rightly said, whether, and it does feel like last legs right now, whether we make the playoffs. So I don't know. It kind of almost feels like, well, this offense hasn't got. It hasn't improved. It hasn't really shown progression. So I don't know. I get what you're saying. I'm not sure I'm fully with you, but I think the general consensus. And listen, it was widely reported, and I'm gonna stay on this topic before we kind of meander down the road of how much we hated our lives on Sunday. So. Tom, I'm gonna aim this one at you. So there was reports that job's safe unless there's a catastrophic drop off for the rest of the season. Well, I would say that catastrophe is certainly seems to have started on probably what we would have pegged as one of the easier games. Indianapolis aren't going to be easy. I think the way Chicago are playing, they're not going to be easy. And then the Saints, especially if we're on a downturn, they're going to try and take advantage of that. So actually, a catastrophic end of the season is possible.
Yeah. So D-Led, as he put out today that if we win the remaining 3 games, there's a 70% chance that the Falcons make the playoffs. So I mean, in terms of wanting it in your own hands, it's out of our hands, but that's as the odds are kind of in your favor in that sense. That would mean that the Falcons need to do something that they have not done at any point under the Arthur Smith tenure, which is win 3 games in a row. It's just impossible. And also have a winning season, which is also impossible. With that, those particular comments were sort of interesting in the timing of them because they came out after the Tampa Bay game, and I suspect the source of those was given those comments prior to Tampa Bay game when it looked like we were in pole position for that divisional sort of crown. So I suspect we are, in the eyes of ownership or head front office or kind of whoever actually oversees the hiring and firing of head coaches at this team, because I genuinely do not know whose job that is. You'd expect it to be Terry Fontenot. I'm not convinced he has that much say in the people actually coaching. I think he's just a personnel guy. But I suspect we are in the midst of the late season collapse. And like you say, the Colts are a good team, very well coached team this season. They've had. I mean, you talked earlier about the sort of the running game, that running defense rather affected heavily by the defensive line injuries over the last 3 or 4 weeks. Like the injuries on defense have been horrid. That's a team that lost their starting quarterback like 4 times this season and just kept chugging. The Bears, like, they're a weird team, but they are feeling quite dangerous. And the Saints are the Saints. I mean, come on, like if that game's got anything on it, they're going to be up for it, like regardless of whether it affects them or not. So it's difficult to say right now with certainty which way it kind of goes. I'm still leaning towards the idea that they miss out on the playoffs by like a tiebreaker, and Blank goes, okay, change your offensive coordinator and we'll go again next year. Because I appreciate him as an owner from the standpoint of he seems to be a fan and a fan first and doing things for fans, but he's also a very emotional guy. The Dan Quinn era lasted a year longer than it should have. Not necessarily the Mike Smith era. I think that was a disappointing sort of end to that. But he seems to do things based on his relationship with the people involved rather than what's best for the team. And that's, again, an admirable quality from a employee-employer standpoint. But from the business of sport, it's not necessarily the best sort of way of going about things. So I don't know if I answered your question or not, but if you're asking whether or not Arthur Smith gets fired, I genuinely don't. They could lose all 3 games coming up, and I'd still be on the sort of going, it's 50-50 as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, we'll see, but it's not looking good, is it, boys? It's this sucks. So yeah.
I guess so. So leading on from that, if we, and I'm trying to be, and listen, guys, you know, I try to be the optimistic one of the bunch as much as I possibly can. Is there, I mean, nothing springs to mind to my head, but then again, maybe it's just because I'm in the depths of depression right now. But, you know, have we seen head coaches where things haven't worked and then they come back next season with a new coordinator and then suddenly it clicks? I mean, if, you know, Liam, if Arthur Smith stays and changes are made personnel wise, do we think there's a chance that things could get better if he's given another run at it?
Your voice said yes, but your face said no.
Yeah, I think you know, if we got an offensive coordinator who was left to do their job, then I think things could get better, because, you know, essentially we're just getting a new guy with a different brain and a different scheme there. If it's a case of we just get somebody in as a body, but Arthur Smith still really runs the show, then I don't think we would. I mean, but ultimately, like, you know, I wouldn't say we've had any massive concerns with like his game management and things like that. So, you know, the main thing that I've been worried about is just his boring playbook and just predictable stuff that we're getting out of these players and just not utilizing good players. So if he was to replace himself essentially as defensive coordinator, then I would say that probably gives us more of an improvement than him basically, as long as he's not offensive coordinator, I think we'll improve. Whether that's he's off the team altogether or he's still the head coach, I think we will improve. But
yeah, so I've been looking at a lot of film, and I think there's I've been seeing it for weeks now, and it kind of drives me up the wall that I'm saying the same thing over and over again. But it's like the scheme just doesn't do anything. Like, and there was loads of, and like the Ridder sort of INT sort of summed it up for me. Is there didn't really seem to be any game plan as to adjust into the defense. So what I mean by that is if you're playing cover 2, you have to make your routes, pull defenders into certain spaces so that they open up spaces for others. And these receivers just aren't doing that. And I'm not going to be convinced that we don't have the talent to do it. So I think like it has to be whatever is in that playbook, which he is so pig-headed not to change. And that's my biggest frustration, because you've got players there who can make lights out plays. And it's just so frustrating when you're seeing kind of like receivers sort of jogging their routes because they know they're not the target. Yeah. But that's not that's not how it should. Like, there shouldn't be one target. Like if a quarterback has to look to another, but a quarterback's not, but the receiver's not running the route that needs to be ran at the right intensity, then Ridder hasn't got any other options. And I'm not sitting up here, saying, as I did at the beginning of the season, with some hope for Ridder. I'd actually quite like to see Ridder in a different offensive scheme. I genuinely mean that. I don't think he's the guy, but again, could he be a competent backup in a better system? I think he could. Yeah. But I think, and that continues to be the frustration, is that this scheme just doesn't get players open. It doesn't, and it feels like there's always just one target. And then if that target don't work, it's all finished.
Earlier in the season, when we were having our initial problems, when we stuttered a little bit, and it was all blame on Ridder, we were calling him tunnel visioned, and that you could tell he was fresh out of college, and once he'd locked eyes on a play, that was the only thing, and we were blaming him for that. But the more data we have to look at, literally opposite to what you just said, it's not just him. He's just not got any other options. So he might not necessarily be able to do the job to the highest of standards, but we were solely pinning it on his inability to seek out other options, when now you're looking at it, there just isn't any options for him. Yeah.
And like I say, I think he's such a nice kid. That's what hurts me the most about the abuse that he gets. Yeah. Like he's a good guy. Do you know what I mean? And even if he's not the guy, like to see some of the abuse he gets, literally because this scheme that he's trying his best to run, it's not working for anybody. And by the way, we've used a quote from Arthur Smith to name the show. We're not going to play musical chairs at QB. Well, that's exactly what we're doing, because I'll tell you something for nothing, boys. If we think Taylor Heinicke is going to change things, against Indianapolis, I'm just not convinced. So I think we've kind of bounced around a few topics there. So I'm just going to quickly pull on each of you. So Danny, I think the offense pretty much enough said.
Yeah, I think we're a broken record at this point, aren't we?
Any positives on that for you at all?
No. I looked into my soul for that one then, but no.
No, but listen, I appreciate that soul search you just did. Cool. And something that Tommy just mentioned, just to quickly circle back around to you, you mentioned the injuries on the defensive line. Still don't think that it was a hugely bad performance, which is essentially from a third string nose tackle.
No, absolutely not. I think the defense played sort of admirably under the conditions. I just think if we're going to start, as I've seen this week blaming the defense for that final drive. Yeah, they may well have got a stop, but at the same time, you're asking backups to play when they're absolutely shattered in the freezing cold, after they've been on the field, sort of getting stops all day. Like, in terms of demoralizing situations, I can't think of a worse one. Yes, they could have got a stop and they came really close, but at the end of the day, like, I'm hard pressed to sort of levy any criticism towards the defensive efforts on Sunday. When you think about it, I mean, like, they scored 6 points directly as a result of turnovers. Like, it was a Bijan Robinson fumble and a Desmond Ridder interception, and it's like game over kind of thing. So I'm again hard pressed to put any blame on them for that. And that will get better. We're hopefully going to be getting some. If we can just get Onyemata back for this week, we might stand a chance, kind of thing. But yeah, some help there is desperately needed. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, they did a good job. They did a good job for under circumstances.
Liam, we're going to take a quick segue into the comments in a second. Anyone that you want to kind of call out as an honourable mention in that game? I think the only one for me that is nice to see is seeing Zach Harrison kind of come into the fold, get a sack. Obviously, we knew he was raw. There's some question marks about him being with him being a third round pick, but looked like he's been. I don't know. He almost kind of looked a little bit sort of Calais-like, the way he sort of chased that down and made sure Bryce didn't get away. So, you know, I mean, for me, that was the only kind of one I wanted to shout out. But anything from you?
Yeah, I mean, I think Graham got a sack, didn't he? Graham got sacked. I know he was he fourth round pick? Not last year, in fourth, I think, wasn't it? So it's nice to see guys coming into the team and sort of getting something on the board. I think we could have been a little bit more effective overall against the Carolina team that struggled in that area. But I wouldn't say that was the fault of our performance by any means.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So just let's move on from last week's doom and gloom to next week's potential doom and gloom. But just before we do, just take a quick jump into the comments. So just one from Cal, wherever you are.
He's in Germany somewhere at the moment. I just went blank when I was about to say it. So he's out on the lash.
Good stuff. As is regular listener John. He's also on the lash. Don't blame him. I mean, I've got a drink myself, so I think that says everything that you need to know. Also, Jack. Hi all. I've only just started watching and trying to play this season. Jack, that's amazing.
He's the man to know about playing.
It is wonderful to think that you've chosen us to come and wallow in misery over here with us as well. Be great to know what team you started playing for. I play Britball myself, so drop it in the comments who you play for. You never know, might be playing against each other this year. And another one from Jack. Do all UK teams have watch parties? I guess the easy answer to that is some do. The teams that tend to have a huge UK following. I mean, we have ours isn't bad. I think we found that out at the last London game, but we don't have watch parties purely like between us because we're scattered across the country. So
it would be something we'd love to do, but it's just the logistics is a nightmare. And also, if you do virtual ones, so many people watch on dodgy streams that you'd never have a chance of watching it at the same time as everyone else.
Everyone will be watching from different parts of the game, I think. But thanks for those comments. Appreciate you all. Appreciate you all dropping in and chatting and interacting with the show. Okay, cool. So looking forward now, and I'll be honest with you guys. I'm gonna say it outright, and you know, boys, I know in our WhatsApp group I've said it for a while. I think Indianapolis are going to be a real problem, even with Gardner Minshew. I think there would have been an even bigger problem with Richardson, who, you know, for the best player in the world, and you know, I'm a Gators fan. Even I had questions of whether he was going to sort of transfer those physical attributes he's got to the NFL. And it was great to see him sort of really sort of adapt, I think is the best way to say it. But Minshew is again a really competent backup quarterback, and they've got pieces and they've got a scheme that really works for them. So Tom, I'm going to bring you in again. What's your thoughts ahead of Indianapolis?
Yeah, don't bother as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's Christmas Eve. Like, you surely got better stuff to do than watch the Falcons versus Indianapolis, right? I don't, unfortunately. So that's what I'm going to be doing. But if you've got any,
I think I'd rather stick pins in my eyes than do that on Christmas Eve. But I mean, that's
if you've got anything else, yeah. I mean, there's one surefire way to have your Christmas ruined: watching the Heinicke-led Falcons against the Colts. Yeah, I mean, they're, like I said, they're just a really well coached team. They just look fine. They don't seem to have any issues as far as I'm concerned. Going from Richardson to Minshew, I've always had a bit of a soft spot for Minshew. I know that he's basically just a bit of a meme at the start of his career, but he's always been pretty good. Exactly. He's kind of stepped in and done a pretty good job there. They're well in their own kind of race, so they're going to be well up for it. And the Falcons, it's a must win for them. It's all going to rely on whether or not you can get anything going. I guess in the passing game, I mean, it's fits and spurts with the passing game as far as I can tell. For all his faults, Arthur Smith can run a fairly efficient sort of running game. It goes and it comes and goes depending on who he likes at the time. If it's going to be Algier or Patterson or Bijan or whatever. But if you can just get some consistency from give the ball to London, give the ball to Pitts. That's something that we've been saying for 2 years. You can just get the ball to them sort of fairly consistently. We kind of stand a chance. Don't know how much the quarterback change is going to do to our chances here. That's a conversation, I think, a much longer conversation over what it's actually going to mean for the Falcons. But I'm nowhere near as confident as I was on Sunday, and look where that goes. So I don't know, maybe. I'm not holding out too much hope, and it's literally going to be one of those ones where if it's half time and we're looking pretty awful, I'm sticking on the Muppets. I'm not doing that myself. So yeah, have some self-respect. My message to the people of on this podcast: have some self-respect and just watch a Christmas film. You enjoy yourself so much more.
Other Christmas films apart from the Muppets are available. So yeah, no, I echo that sentiment. I think that Minshew is the definition of just a really efficient backup quarterback, and I would say that how well the Colts are being coached coming out of that Frank Reich era where everyone was like, rookie quarterback, not a lot of pieces apart from Pittman, I guess, is probably their main one. Who, I mean, how he's alive after that hit last week, I'm not at all sure. Any big sort of players for the Colts that we need to watch out for, Liam?
I mean, on the receiving side, I think Josh Downs is having a good season. He's been up and down a little bit. He's one of them who's going for like 20 yards and then 120 yards, like very unpredictable. I think he's also the return guy, but he would be their sort of number 2 option that we're looking for in the receiving game. I guess it's going to come down to if either of them are available at running back, because obviously Taylor's still got some kind of thumb issue, but he potentially could be back. Moss went out of the game early on this week, but he could potentially be back. So we could end up facing both of them or neither of them. I don't think it's been confirmed yet. I think that would have a big impact. If neither of them could play, that would put us in a much better position. I think obviously Taylor's been up and down. Like he came back and then he went out again. He's kind of not really got going anyway.
Yeah,
But Moss has had probably his best season in the NFL, certainly that I can remember.
100%. Yeah.
So stepping in, so he would be someone that I would be concerned about. If we were to sort of stop that, make Minfie beat us with some decent weapons, we got a chance. But I mean, I think they've got a very good O-line, and they've got a defense that's just got some very big players on it that are just, you know, a threat from all different angles, especially on that D line and the linebackers.
Yeah.
I'd be concerned about our offense against that, to be honest. If we can't move the ball against Carolina, who, let's face it, you know, they've got some decent pieces on defense, but are a broken team mentally, we still couldn't move the ball against them. A team that has won, the Colts won 5 out of the last 6 or something like that on a high. Bit concerning if we don't change something drastically compared to that offensive performance this week.
So, Danny, question for you, and this is going to be a really, really, or should be, I would say, a really, really easy yes or no one. Well, maybe not easy. Interested to hear your thoughts. Do we end the season with still no touchdowns scored by running backs?
Yes. I think if there's any good to come out of this season and anything to build on for next season, then that would be one thing that we've still got in the locker with 3 games left. I don't see why it's not feasible. Like Liam's just said, injuries.
If Taylor and Moss are back this weekend,
it's a different game because they're on 5 touchdowns and 4 touchdowns retrospectively. So game on a little bit, but no, why not? I've got to back the boys with something because otherwise I get beaten for the negativity.
Well, that's very true. That's very true. Mm-hmm. That's very true. Well, so I think it's fair to say that off the back of that conversation, realistically speaking, optimism probably isn't high, chaps. And I think given the situation we're in, I think that's pretty a fair place for the fan base to be. Now, I'm gonna move the topic slightly because I think it's really easy for us to kind of end up going round in circles on the old ground when actually, from what's just happened last week to what we've got coming up, as Tom very, very astutely pointed out on Christmas Eve, I'm interested to hear. So if we go with the theory that Smith sees the season out but loses out, this is the Mark hypothetical corner. Who'd you go for the next head coach?
Who's going to go first?
I'm gonna go at Liam first.
I mean, it's going to come down to availability, isn't it? A lot of it. You know, you've got college guys that, you know, does that really work? Not really. I mean, it can do, obviously, right? But I think we've seen some poor decisions. I'm going to say that we faced a team this week just gone that made a seemingly poor decision, taking somebody out of college for a very, very long contract. Which they're going to be paying for however long.
I guess my point is I don't want to start us off on the thought that it's just going to be a head coach carousel, right? We need the guy, right? Yeah. It's obviously Nielsen's first season. He's proven a fantastic defensive coordinator from all told. So we need somebody to come and sort out the offense. So who's the guy out there that you go for right now to sort this offense out and start taking advantage of the offensive weaponry that we've got?
I don't know if he's the man right now, but do you just go back to Bieniemy like we probably in hindsight should have done during our first round of recruitment?
Okay.
I know.
I'll be honest. I feel like it feels like almost kind of like the easy answer, and
It does.
not that I'm happy for it, but I don't know. Like, yeah, okay, he's done quite well with Sam Howell, but at the same time, and this might just be a personnel thing, but I would go, yeah, but I mean their O-line is also like a turnstile. Like how Sam Howell's still alive, the amount of times he's been hit this season. I mean, like it's worse than that season with Matt, when Matt was just constantly on his
like
ass.
42.
So I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm sold on that, but okay, right. So Danny's gone with Bieniemy. Liam,
I've got. I mean, I'm going to say based on performances certainly this season and maybe over the last sort of couple of seasons, that the three names that come to my head would be, I can't think of his first name, Johnson from
the Lions.
Yeah,
Ben Johnson from the Lions.
Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson.
Why did you have to pick three? He was going to be my choice, man. For God's sake, always going to be.
He's an obvious one. And then Johnson. I do know his first name. Brian Johnson, the Eagles offensive.
The guy from AC/DC.
Yes, him. The Eagles offensive coordinator, and then I can't remember his name.
Where was he? Where's he been?
Frank
If
Smith.
you say Reich, I'm
Frank Smith.
Surely not.
No, definitely not Frank Smith, Dolphins offensive coordinator.
Oh, okay.
Who, let's say, has got explosive players and things like that. Obviously, maybe more than we have, but nobody could deny that he's getting production with those guys.
Okay.
They'd be the three names that I would say that if I don't know how realistic, but I don't know contracts and and how close they are to becoming a coordinator, a head coach, things like that. But if there's names that are running an offense, how I would like to see an offense run, they'd be the three names I would say.
Like that. Tom, let me just tee you up for you to hit this straight home run out the park.
Okay, so Ben Johnson feels like the obvious one. I think he's going to be the one that has the most the most interest over the next once we get into playoff season. I like the Bieniemy shout on the basis that look at where the Chiefs were when he was their head offensive coordinator, and kind of look at where they are now. They're still very, very good, but I don't know how controversial this one is. So I'm going outside the box, right? So this is now. I'd love to have Dangler back because he just no. I'm going outside the box here on the basis that Arthur Blank knows that this team needs to win something. It needs to do something because he's 80 years old at this point. Like, I'm not being morbid, but he has to know that sooner rather than later, the chance for him to watch the team win a championship is going to be over. Jim Harbaugh.
Oh, my Lord. Okay.
I mean,
point made.
Liam took a deep breath there. Come on, Liam.
Realistic.
I don't know how. I will caveat that by saying I don't know how realistic that is. I don't know if NFL is even an option for him. But if you want to take a swing for the fences,
I mean, I'm sure he'd be tickled into it from a prestige point of view. But I imagine he's on an absolute wedge. I think I don't know if he's the highest paid college. Was he the highest paid one, and then he got taken over? I can't remember. He's right up there as in terms of he's getting paid an absolute fortune, and some college guys are hard to get away from that money, aren't they? Especially because it comes with a reputational risk where you're gonna like Michigan are gonna basically do very well most seasons. You could come into the NFL and have an absolute disaster, couldn't you? But if he's interested, I certainly wouldn't be against it.
I've got the financials just in case anybody's interested in the likelihood.
Go on, Danny.
It's a wedge.
He's on a nice little 8.25 million a year with 3.275 million available in bonuses, and his buyout is 27.25 million. So I don't know what that.
Okay, fair enough. I'm thinking.
Mike's got it.
Listen, I love the swing. I love the swing, but I am shooketh, and I mean shooketh to hear that a college coach is on that kind of money. That is wild.
They get paid absolute fortunes, some of them.
So if he completes his objectives and the goals set, he's basically on 12 and a bit mil a year for college football. I'm not saying I know college football is massive, but that's insane. That's criminal.
Michigan have been good this year. So
yeah, they're number one team. They're a ranked team, aren't they? So, but they've not won anything that I can like since I've been following college football.
No.
So I mean, they've won in the past, but
sorry, just for comparison's sake, I've just googled Arthur Smith's salary, and apparently he's making $500,000 a year. So that's quite the step up. I have just had a quick look at the list. I don't know about obviously the old bonuses and stuff like that, but Jim Harbaugh is the 13th highest paid college coach.
Oh my!
Presumably it's saved
in terms of pure. I don't know about bonuses. In terms of pure salary, it's the 13th highest. No, Nick Saban, Dave O'Sweeney did take over it, didn't it? Clemson, and then Saban, I think, got a new deal and took it back over. Saban gets about 11.4 million in salary alone.
That's
wild. That is wild. That is wild.
That's why these guys are so. Like, how many years in a row has Lincoln Riley been linked with the NFL? There's a reason he isn't left.
Yeah.
Because what have they? I can't remember. Have they won anything either? It's just money, isn't it? Like that. Some of these guys are really, really hard to get across because of just getting paid money to basically coach teams that win 90% of the games every year.
So
easy life.
Carl's just come in with the comment of the evening.
He must be watching. He must be watching on Internet Explorer because that came through so late then.
So I feel like there was presumably Arthur Smith's sort of salary, right? That's
right.
I feel like there's an obvious one that we've missed. If you were teeing me up for to knock it out of the park, who did I egregiously?
You're on base. Go for it.
I don't know. Oh Jesus! What me? I'll give it a go.
I thought you said you had another one.
No. I feel like I've missed somebody. Is what I'm saying. Sorry, apologies. I feel like you were setting me up for somebody that I've completely skipped over.
No. I think I guess the thing is we're not really like the free agency market for head coaches isn't exactly what you'd call rich at the moment, which is why we have to kind of be in this world of right. So who's the kind of next up and coming guy? I mean, mine was going to be the guy from the Lions. I didn't realize it was as obvious as it obviously is. Anybody who can make Jared Goff look like a competent NFL quarterback is a magician in my eyes. So it's but again, it's just they've got what I would class as away from Amon-Ra St. Brown, nowhere near the weaponry we've got. I think our running back room's better. You'd argue at the minute probably off based on production that Laporta's better than Pitts, but I'm not sure about that. So
a little tickler. Got a little wild card.
Tickle me away.
Since we wanted one. What about the return? And it's not Dan Quinn. What about the return of Raheem Morris?
Why?
Well, he's been here before. He was our offensive coordinator through some of our best years, certainly from Matt Ryan's like MVP year and all that sort of stuff. He is now a defensive coordinator, so obviously he struggled Is he only been a head coach once at the Bucs, hasn't he? Obviously, he like I don't want to say he sucked because the team sucked, but yeah, his record sucked. But he was very young, kind of dropped back out of that limelight, done some very good jobs on coordinator roles since. Doing a good job this year with the Rams, who are not a good team, but he's got that defense keeping him in contention. He could be up for it. He knows the setup and stuff like that. Knows blank.
I don't know, man. I
don't know if I want history back with us at any point. We've not had a good enough history to do and go over.
Like since he's been at the Rams, like don't get me wrong, I know the Rams kind of sold the farm, they went win now, it worked for them, and now they're kind of dealing with the fallout. But I don't know, is the defense that good that I'm kind of sitting up and taking notice? I'm not sure.
They ranked in the top 10 this year, and that's a team that sucks.
Yeah.
On paper. Apart from they've got the one-man wrecking machine, obviously.
I've got two off socials from comments and stuff that we've had this week. I'm hoping one's a piss take. Patriots. I don't want to say his name.
Right, so I've been thinking about this, right? And there's a very real chance that he's going to be available. I mean, I know he's like 70 years old, and the idea of him moving cross country to a new gig. But
I mean, I don't think it's an age thing.
True. I just don't know. I just don't know how much that way of running an organization carries over in the modern game. It would purely be a okay, right. So I'm going to please indulge me as I say.
He's going to want to do the whole GM thing as well, and I mean, out of all of this, one person I've come out still fully trusting is Terry Fontenot. Like he's had, like in terms of like the draft pieces. I mean, don't get me wrong, he has had some misses, but I think his hits are over his misses for me right now. So like if you're gonna if Bill's gonna come in, Bill's gonna want full control, and I'm not sure if I'm down with that.
He's going to a team that if he's going to another team, he's going to a team that currently also has a general manager role available. He's going to the Chargers, basically, is what I'm saying. He's going to the Chargers. They're just going to go do what you do, kind of thing. Just on Terry Fontenot, I mean, I fully agree in relation to the draft classes. I think they've been hit and miss, to say the least. I mean, that's not his background. He was never the draft guy at Saints. He was the sort of the pro personnel guy. And you look at his free agency groups, I think they've been quite impressive. Some of the players, even in that first year when we had like 20p to play with, and he's bringing in like we're getting something out of Cordell Patterson. We're getting we're turning sort of relatively but sort of fine players into players that can go play elsewhere or be productive with ourselves and be with us today. So I've got no problems with him in that sense. I think is it Carl Smith he used to be at Washington, is primarily running the sort of the college side of things, and that obviously seeps into the draft. But then that comes back to the question of just how much control do the front office have over these draft picks. Was Kyle Pitts a Arthur Smith pick or a Terry Fontenot pick, or was he Arthur Blank or Rich McKay deciding that they wanted to be the team that had the highest drafted tight end of all time? Was Bijan Robinson one of their picks, for example? I guarantee there's obviously some level of input in all sense, but I don't know who has control or who has the final say or where the direction is coming from in that regard. Mm-hmm. As a general manager, obviously, if it is the case that he's not having that level of control, that must be incredibly frustrating. But at the same time, there are 32 of these jobs in the world, so why would you sort of kick up a fuss about it until you've been fired, and then you can complain on 92.5 the fan or whatever it is? Like that's just kind of So I do agree. I think if in this scenario where Arthur Smith is fired, I don't think Terry Fontenot is fired. I think they feel like they've got something there. He'll get the opportunity to sort of have a second crack at it with another coach.
Yeah.
Along with the big video of Rich McKay go, oh well, now they're going to be working. So just go, just retire to the league, Rich McKay. I don't know what you do. I don't know why you're here, but just let someone else have a go at whatever you're doing for a bit. That'd be nice.
Spot on.
So that's why I think we should get Jim Harbaugh.
So I'm gonna bring this show, because seeing as we're quite nicely on time tonight, Danny.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring the show to a final question, and I'm interested to hear everybody's thoughts. So obviously, if we do, and let's come back to Mark's, theoretical corner. So if we do get to a point where we lose out, probably end up with a draft pick around sort of, I would say it could be anywhere with the NFL being the way it is, but probably somewhere between sort of 10 and 15 maybe. If that happens, is it quarterback time? Or do we go out and trade for one? Or do we go and get a vet?
My expectation sorry, crack on.
No, I'm going to start with Danny.
Yep.
I keep forgetting the cameras and we'll go around the circle. Danny.
I'm leaning towards, due to the likely pick, so say it's middle of the round and not in that top 5 sort of slot, I'm leaning towards going out and robbing a team of their quarterback. I know we've had the Fields conversation 1,000 times over.
Right, but who are you going for?
I think he's the most feasible, so I would go for him with it being the most realistic shout and probably the easiest attainable.
Okay, cool. Tom?
Yeah, so my expectation is, I think, kind of regardless that the Falcons are going to take a quarterback in the draft, and I think they're probably going to trade up. I think so. We're currently holding the 10 pick. So in the scenario where we lose out, we might still be in that sort of range. But even if we're outside the top 10, I feel like they're going to look at the offense as it is and the defense as it is and go, well, we need to make a move now. Let's go and get our quarterback of the future. And I don't know who that is. I've heard of like 3 of the guys. I'm not a college guy. I do that sort of half-assed work in the summer. But Falcons will trade up for a quarterback in the draft.
Ooh,
that's where I'm leaning. Yeah.
Okay, Liam, talk to me.
Interesting.
You're going to say something really neggy like Kirk Cousins or something, aren't you?
Well, it produced better than Justin Fields.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, there's the hit.
His numbers are better every year. But I think realistically, it's a strong quarterback class. I always say it's a strong quarterback class. You can't actually say that until they've played. But it's a predicted strong quarterback class this year. But ultimately, I think you could possibly say that the best 3 quarterbacks are going to go in the first 5 picks, 6 picks. That's what I think all 3 are going to go there. There are probably 2 other names that you would probably say are in the first round conversation, but not in the top 10.
Okay, so are you saying we take one in the draft?
I think it's a question of who's there. Obviously, if, like Kev Williams, Drake May, and Jen Daniels, you're definitely going to say yes, aren't you? But JJ McCarthy and Bo Nix are the other 2.
You're being very much on the fence here, Liam.
I don't see a veteran that we could get. I see a veteran that could get us a solid performance. I see a trade that is realistically probably possibly one trade depending on how the draft goes. That I don't want anyway. So I would say let's take a punt on one of those 5 quarterbacks in the draft.
Okay. So are you saying we trade up or we don't trade up?
If one of those 3 guys are there at like 7 or 8, then yeah, we trade up. I don't think we trade up into the top 5.
So who'd you trade up for?
Whichever the 3 is still available at 7 or 8.
No preference. No preference.
So
Like realistically, I'm taking Caleb Williams.
This is like talking to my wife. So just say the three have gone, and we haven't been able to trade up. Who'd you take outside of that top 3?
The
Bo
other
Nix.
Go on, Liam.
Bo Nix.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
From Oregon.
Why not?
Okay.
Just as a just to sort of cut in very quickly, there's quite a popular belief or story that has sort of gathered over the last couple of years in that the Falcons were really high on Trey Lance in 2021, and obviously the San Francisco moving above them obviously threw that into disarray, and then it became, well, do we want Justin Fields at 4 or do we want Kyle Pitts at 4? And obviously they went with Kyle Pitts. This isn't. I suspect you're thinking, oh, they're going to go get Trey Lance. No, if there's a guy that they like, I don't think they're going to leave it to chance. If, for example, they like the kid from LSU a lot, they're going to go they will make them to they have the offense, they have far of the defense, and they just need to get something going. So if that's just to back up my own point, really, based on history, based on sort of that, if there's somebody that they think is going to be the guy for the next sort of 10 years or who is capable of being that guy, they go and get him. I don't think this is going to be a case of let's just add another weapon. And I don't necessarily think it's going to be one of those draft day trades either. This might be something they do in March, depending on what kind of they kind of hear. I feel like they're just going to feel like they're going to have to act urgently. So.
Jalen Daniels is my favorite. I've made no bones about it. You guys know I always have one love in the draft. I have a guy that I just absolutely fall in love with. Ironically, Trey Lance was one of those. So I'm not saying I'm always right, but for once I was right, and I got Bijan last year. But I'm for me, I feel like Jalen Daniels kind of completes this offense. Obviously, the offensive scheme's got to be a bit better. Otherwise, we're just putting him against the wall and shooting him in the back of the head. But he's certainly my favorite. Although, I have to say, if we were picking around 10 and we didn't trade up, to Liam's point, I think Bo Nix has shown a hell of a lot of potential. So there's some things I don't like about him as well, but we'll go into that on closer to draft day, I'm sure. Cool. I mean, okay, so
is Trey Lance off the table? Like, has he really been given a chance to play football?
No,
he hasn't. But I also think that the Falcons are probably past the point in which they can just take a punt.
Yeah,
try somebody out.
But really, if there's nobody else there, like, we're in a bad position.
Get bored for a sort of.
It wouldn't be a ridiculous backup, would it? He's third string at Dallas at the minute, so he wouldn't be a ridiculous backup option. Maybe he probably wants to be a bit more ambitious than that, but
true.
Yeah. Okay, so let's finish this evening show with a really, really quick question. Are we winning this weekend, Danny?
Yeah, we're winning 3 straight games.
Oh my God.
I'm one of the 8% on the poll that said we win 3 out of 3.
I'm one of the 80-odd% or whatever it was that said no, we lose all 3. Liam, what about you? We winning?
No.
Cool. Tom?
Nah, come on.
What about Muppets Christmas Carol?
It will set the over-under a start time at 7:31.5, and take it from there. Yeah, take the bins out, and then I'll put Muppets on.
Oh, good stuff. Right. Well, listen, we can all be in pain together, guys. That's how we roll. So, Danny, anything more from you, or any other business, or anything you want to bring to the table?
No, nothing at all. Just to echo that, it was 44% of the 1,300 votes we got. 44% have 0 wins, 38% have 1 win, 10% have 2 wins, and 8% have 3 wins. So
Okay.
it is the whole fan base is done at this point. We've tapped out.
Liam, anything from yourself you want to add?
No, I think we've covered everything, haven't we?
That's like I want to talk football, but it's just too depressing now.
Yeah, I just I'm more excited about watching other players and things at the minute. Thinking, I forgot to watch us for a bit. Everyone else feels even more excited when you start watching really good plays and really good performances. Like, I wish I had some of that.
And our esteemed guest, Tom, anything you want to chat about before we sign off for tonight?
This is so much different from when I remember coming on one of the first ones where I think it was pre-2021 draft when we were all kind of excited. We had a new head coach, new general manager, top 5 pick, and we're thinking, it's going to be a tough couple of years. We got to get through, but the future is bright. We're going to have all these young players, and now we're in the future. And just like in real life, really, the future's shit. I've kind of had enough of it. So yeah, I'm glad that you're still doing it. Don't get me wrong, and I'm happy to come back anytime. But yeah, it would be a really nice change of pace if just once we were good, just for a bit. Somebody put up we've had 2 winning seasons over the last 11 years. Like we haven't had a winning season since I moved out of my parents' house. This is such a depressing situation to be in. Like I've got to sit here and try to justify why I watch this team lose every week to somebody who does not like the sport, who would rather be watching anything else. So if anybody at Falcons are watching this, just do something just to make things exciting for a bit, because that'd be nice for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Just
Well,
little something.
What a way to end the show. Cool. Well, guys, even though things are absolutely shite at the minute, really appreciate you all tuning in. Numbers have been great tonight. Everyone's been chatting. It's been great to chat with you all. Tom, you are welcome back anytime. Thank you so much for jumping in at short notice today. Great to chat with you. And if you don't follow Tom already, Tom, what's your Twitter handle?
Yeah, don't bother. It's Willow290592. I would not judge you. I wouldn't bother. It's yeah. I do other stuff. Talk about Nintendo and Star Wars and that. So if that's of interest to you, then you're well in your wheelhouse. But yeah, no, I've got stuff coming out every Wednesday for the Touchdown about general NFL things. And my ongoing contract holdout with Blogging Day should hopefully be coming to an end very soon. So I'll keep you posted on that. Awesome. It's an administrative error, is what it is. But I'm just trying. Yeah.
We'll look at socials afterwards because I'm pretty sure nobody's remembered that number that's after your name. So we'll.
Fair enough.
Right. So thanks everybody for joining. Thanks everyone for tuning in, chilling out, chatting. If this is your first time on the podcast, you don't have to just look at our faces all the time. You can listen to this on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It's all over, or wherever you get your podcasts, as all of the Yankee podcasters like to say. And we from all of us at Falcons UK, hope you have a great Christmas. Hope the Falcons don't ruin it for you. They'll probably ruin it for us. But like Willow said, just chill and just watch the Muppets. And maybe that's the headline for the next show. I don't know. Until then,
watching the Muppets and the Falcons is the same thing, no?
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one, everyone. See you later.